There comes a moment in life when everything shifts, a moment so quiet yet so profound that it echoes in the corners of your mind long after it happens. It's the kind of moment you never expect, the kind that seems impossible until it is inevitable. You've lived countless days filled with routine, with small victories and quiet struggles, yet nothing prepares you for the intensity of someone finally seeing you in the way you've always hoped to be seen. And in this story, in this almost unbelievable scenario, that someone is Elon Musk, the man who builds rockets, reinvents cars, and reshapes the way we see the future. It begins subtly, almost imperceptibly. The glances across a crowded room. The faint acknowledgement in conversations that seems just a little warmer than usual, the messages that hint at thoughts deeper than casual friendship. You notice, of course, but you try not to. You've learned the art of self-protection, the way the heart whispers when it fears being heard too loudly. And yet, even as you attempt to rationalize, there is an undeniable pull, a quiet insistence that there is something more here than coincidence, more than chance. The build-up is never sudden. It's like watching a sunrise, the light spreading imperceptibly at first, until it bathes the entire world in a brilliance you cannot ignore. Elon Musk doesn't announce his feelings in grand declarations immediately. He lets the tension stretch, the anticipation grow, as if the moment itself needs to ripen. He speaks with the same precision he applies to every venture, every plan, every dream, but this time, his words carry something unexpected: warmth, vulnerability, recognition. It's subtle at first, hidden behind humor, behind casual remarks that might have meant nothing to anyone else, but to you, they carry the weight of revelation. You begin to notice patterns. The way he listens when you speak, not as someone polite or performing social etiquette, but as someone genuinely engaged, captivated. The pauses, the moments when his gaze lingers a little too long, the way he references things only you have shared with him. As though he's committed every detail to memory. You feel seen, truly seen, in a way that is intoxicating and terrifying all at once. You wrestle with disbelief. How could someone so extraordinary, so unreachable in so many ways, feel this way about you? And yet, every gesture, every word, confirms it, and then comes the moment. Not dramatic, not staged, not the kind of cinematic revelation you imagine in daydreams. It's quiet. Perhaps you're standing in a room filled with the hum of innovation, surrounded by the evidence of brilliance and ambition, when he simply turns to you and says it. Not with flourish, not with theatrics, but with an honesty so raw that it slices through any pretense or doubt. The truth spills into the air like sunlight breaking through clouds. He cares. He admires. He sees you in ways no one else has ever managed, and he cannot, will not, hide it any longer. Your heart races, not just from surprise, but from recognition of the courage it takes for someone like him to admit vulnerability. In this moment, you realize that truth is not about grand gestures or dramatic displays. It is about presence, about the subtle weaving of acknowledgement and attention, the way someone chooses to make you feel known, valued, and extraordinary simply for being yourself. And in this recognition, you find your own strength reflected back at you. You realize that being seen in such a way is not just a gift, but a mirror, showing you the immense capacity you have to affect others, to inspire, to evoke admiration and connection. The implications stretch far beyond the personal. If someone like Elon Musk, a symbol of innovation, ambition, and unrelenting drive, can admit such vulnerability, then you understand the power of truth, the necessity of honesty in human connection. It becomes a lesson in courage, in daring to be authentic in a world that constantly pressures you to conform, to perform, to hide. You feel the magnitude of this moment, its quiet revolutionary power, and you carry it with you like a secret flame, igniting a deeper sense of possibility in every choice you make. Time seems to stretch and bend around this revelation. Every interaction afterward carries a new weight, a new awareness, as if the world itself has shifted slightly on its axis. You notice the little things more acutely, the way conversations deepen, the way attention lingers, the way laughter holds a trace of unspoken understanding. There is a magic in recognition, a profound sense that life has opened a door you didn't even know was waiting for you. And you step through it, carrying the certainty that truth, no matter how delayed, is always worth the wait. You stand there, not quite knowing what to say, and for once in your life, words feel unnecessary. Silence becomes a language of its own, a shared understanding that sometimes the most powerful truths need no translation. In that quiet, there is an electricity, a raw pulse of existence that feels both terrifying and liberating. You can almost hear the universe rearranging itself around this moment, whispering that nothing will ever be the same again. Elon doesn't speak in the usual rhythm of confession. He doesn't stumble over words or search for approval. Instead, he speaks with the same certainty he reserves for his visions of Mars, for his relentless pursuit of the impossible. But there's something softer now, something profoundly human. His eyes, usually so analytical, so calculating, hold something fragile, the recognition that even geniuses are human, that even the unstoppable can be moved by connection. "You don't understand," he says quietly, almost to himself. "You've changed the way I see things. The way I see people." You blink, unsure if you've heard him right. But the sincerity in his voice leaves no space for doubt. He isn't talking about admiration or gratitude, he's talking about something deeper, more transformative. The kind of impact one soul can have on another, the way a single presence can reorder priorities, shift trajectories, and awaken dormant parts of oneself, and in that moment, something inside you changes too. You realize that the truth he's admitting isn't just about affection or attraction, it's about acknowledgement. It's about the way your authenticity has rippled into someone else's world, reminding them of something essential, that beneath every ambition, every pursuit, lies the need for connection. You remember every time you doubted yourself. Every night you stared at the ceiling wondering if your presence made any difference, if your words carried any weight, if your dreams mattered at all. And here, standing before you, is living proof that they do. That you do. The realization hits you with quiet force. The world notices more than you think. People see more than they say. Sometimes your mere existence is the spark that reignites someone's faith in humanity, in love, in possibility. The air feels different now. You feel different now. The noise of the world fades, the constant buzz of doubt, expectation, and comparison, replaced by the sound of truth settling into place. And that truth is simple: you are not invisible. You never were. The confession becomes a mirror, showing you all the versions of yourself you've overlooked, the strong one who kept moving when life was heavy, the dreamer who kept believing even when logic screamed otherwise, the quiet giver who poured kindness into places that offered nothing in return. It's as if life itself is reminding you, everything you are has always been enough. You didn't have to change to be worthy of recognition, you only had to be seen by the right eyes. Elon smiles then, not the public smile he gives during press conferences or interviews, but a real, unguarded one. It's a small, almost imperceptible shift, but it carries warmth. You have no idea how rare that is, he says softly. To meet someone who doesn't see the world for what it is, but for what it could be. And you do understand, because that's exactly what's always set you apart. You've always seen possibility where others saw limitation, light where others only noticed shadow. That's why this moment feels bigger than the two of you. It's not about fame or admiration, it's about two visions meeting in the same frequency of belief. The confession becomes more than words. It becomes a lesson about courage. Because even someone like Elon Musk, a man accustomed to risk, to failure, to the scrutiny of the world, still finds vulnerability to be his greatest leap. It teaches you something vital. No matter how successful or powerful one becomes, the bravest act will always be telling the truth of your heart. You find yourself smiling, not because of flattery or surprise, but because something inside you finally exhales. You realize how long you've waited to feel seen not as potential, but as presence. In a world obsessed with what you could be, it feels revolutionary to be loved for what you already are. As the moment lingers, your mind drifts to the path that brought you here, every struggle, every detour, every heartbreak that made you question your worth. You see now that none of it was wasted. Every stumble built resilience, every silence taught patience, every disappointment refined your understanding of what truly matters. You weren't being punished, you were being prepared. And that's when the deeper truth hits you: this moment isn't about Elon Musk at all. It's about you. About your energy, your persistence, your unshakable belief that something inside you was meant for more. He may have admitted his feelings, but what he's really confessing is the effect of your authenticity, the undeniable light of someone who refuses to dim themselves to fit the world's comfort, you feel the gravity of that realization. You understand that every person you admire, every icon you've ever looked up to, is still just a reflection of what's already possible within you. The greatness you see in others is simply the mirror of your own potential waiting to be recognized. Elon's confession, in its essence, becomes a symbol, the universe's way of telling you that your presence is powerful, that even amidst the noise of doubt and delay, you are capable of touching lives in ways beyond comprehension. The truth he admits is not only his, it's universal. It's the truth that connection changes everything, and in that awareness, you feel something expand inside you, a quiet, unstoppable certainty. You no longer need validation to believe in your worth. You no longer wait for the world to notice before you decide to shine. Because now you understand, being seen isn't what makes you special. What makes you special is daring to be real even before anyone is watching. The next few days feel strange, suspended between dream and reality. You move through time differently now, more aware, more awake. The world hasn't changed, but your perception of it has. Every sunrise feels like a private message from the universe, a quiet reminder that something profound has shifted inside you. It's as though a door that had always been there, hidden in plain sight, has finally opened. Elon's confession lives somewhere in the back of your mind, not as a boast or an ego boost, but as a symbol of something larger, the power of presence, the reach of authenticity. You keep thinking about what it means for someone so driven, so consumed by grand ambitions, to be moved by something as simple and human as connection. You realize that, despite the rockets, the companies, the innovation, the real frontier isn't Mars, it's the human heart, and maybe that's the truth he was really admitting, not a confession of love, but of rediscovery. That behind the formulas and algorithms and metal and fire, there's still something ineffable, something that cannot be engineered, the spark between two souls who see each other clearly. You start to see the world differently because of that. You look at people not for what they have achieved, but for what they carry inside. You notice how courage can hide behind quiet eyes, how kindness can live in small gestures, how brilliance can exist in the most unassuming faces. You realize that everyone, no matter how accomplished or ordinary, is searching for the same thing, to be seen, to be understood, to matter, and that recognition changes how you move through the world. You begin to smile more, to listen deeper, to speak with intention. You become aware that your words hold power, not the loud, commanding kind, but the gentle, transformative kind that lingers long after the sound has faded. One evening, as you walk beneath a sky painted with stars, you remember something he said. You have no idea how rare it is to meet someone who doesn't see the world for what it is, but for what it could be. That sentence stays with you, like a line of code that rewires your entire perspective. You begin to ask yourself, what if you started living entirely from that vision? What if you stopped letting fear dictate your pace, and started trusting the quiet whisper inside that says you were made for more, there's a strange kind of freedom that comes with that realization. You stop waiting for permission. You stop apologizing for wanting more than the ordinary. You start walking toward the unknown, not because you have a guarantee, but because you finally understand that uncertainty is where life truly begins. The confession wasn't the climax of the story, it was the ignition. It set something in motion, a remembering of who you are, of what you're capable of. You think about Elon again. Not as a billionaire or a headline, but as a mirror for human potential. The same fire that drives him exists in you too, just in a different form. And when you start seeing life that way, the boundaries between ordinary and extraordinary dissolve. You remember the long nights you almost gave up, the times you felt invisible, the moments when your dreams seemed too heavy to carry. And you realize now that even then, the universe was listening. Even when no one noticed, your persistence was being recorded in the quiet archives of destiny. That's why this moment feels like a convergence, a cosmic alignment between effort and recognition. You start to understand that success isn't measured in followers, or wealth, or applause. It's measured in the quiet bravery of continuing. It's in the way you show up for yourself on the days when no one is watching, when the world feels indifferent, when you have every reason to stop and yet you don't. That's what makes people like Elon admire you, not the finished story, but the unfinished courage, and so, you begin to walk differently. You carry yourself with quiet strength, not arrogance. You move through your days with purpose, with the understanding that every interaction, every smile, every act of kindness ripples outward in ways you may never see. You begin to live as though your life itself is a message, one that says, keep going. You matter. You are seen. The confession fades from being a personal secret to becoming a universal truth, that everyone who dares to live with passion will eventually be recognized by the world, maybe not in headlines, but in the hearts they touch along the way. You start noticing small miracles, opportunities unfolding, people gravitating toward your light, ideas sparking from nowhere. It's not luck, it's alignment. You've stepped into the current of your own purpose, and life responds to that energy. You understand now why truth matters, because truth is the foundation of all creation. Once you begin living from it, the universe has no choice but to respond, and in that awareness, you find peace. Not the fragile peace that depends on outcomes, but the kind that comes from knowing who you are and what you stand for. You realize that every soul you meet, every challenge you face, is part of a larger tapestry, and that the thread you bring to it, your authenticity, is what gives it meaning. When you think back on that moment, Elon's eyes meeting yours, the sincerity in his voice, it no longer feels surreal. It feels inevitable. Because now you understand, people recognize in others what they've been searching for within themselves. He saw in you the same boundless curiosity, the same refusal to settle, the same fire that drives creation. You weren't just seen, you were understood. And maybe that's the greatest truth of all: being understood is the closest thing to being loved.